Yeah. That's a real topic.
Yeah.
Okay. Besides that, because I think, that these things happen, for certain reasons,
Of course.
and it's more of a administration issue, where the leadership isn't,
Yeah.
doing the right thing in certain areas, right?
Yeah.
So that takes us to leadership, right? But besides leadership, are there other maybe specific ways that you can maybe innovate in the current educational system, like, because paying staff, like, that's something that is beyond
Yeah, of
the
course,
general,
of course. Well, I do always think that, our curriculums could be enhanced because when you look at where the world is moving now, everything is going tech. And I do believe that, especially from primary school, like start teaching kids how to code. Yeah, okay, even not coding, but like, don't limit them at basic computer like literacy skills because that's what they're doing now. There's so much more that you could teach kids to prepare them for the future because the future it's going technical.
So keeping up with technological
times,
change.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But the thing is, the teachers that we have today, right? They could have trained maybe 20 years ago, 30 years ago, where some of this technology was not available.
Yeah, of course.
And what do we expect? We expect new young teachers to come in.
Well,
right?
if you must know, there are over 20 teachers' colleges in Zimbabwe that produce graduates every year. I believe that with every year that new batch is produced, there should be at least a few hundred that are towards those, advanced computer skills to teach kids. So that, all the teachers can teach your mathematics, they can teach your English, your content, your agriculture. But let there be one, who teaches them how to code, who teaches them, big things.
All right. These issues are usually beyond us, some of these things. But it's good, to start talking about them, and it's good to present solutions because you never know. Maybe Hazel has a solution that can solve, big problems in the country.
Yeah,
so it's good to, just have a back and forth and discussing these issues. And another one of those issues happens to be, brain drain in the country.
Yeah.
Are you planning on leaving Zimbabwe?
Yes.
Where do you want to go?
To America.
To America?
I want to experience the American dream.
You want the American dream? Okay.
Of course.
That's great. That's great.
My options are not limited.
Okay. That's great. Good for you. Do you think that we'll ever reach a level where the Europeans will I want to go to Zimbabwe and experience the Zimbabwean dream?
Well, I
What do you have to do?
I don't want to get into the politics side of it.
Let's not.
But when you look at, this is more than just Zimbabwe. Look at Africa as a whole. The way that we operate, it's only downhill from here.
But we're the future.
It's an African mentality, it's not a Zimbabwean mentality. It's Africa as a whole.
Alright, let me put it this way, right? You're going somewhere, right? You're driving somewhere, right? And you notice that the driver is not paying attention to the road signs, That's something that's dangerous, and that can cause, you guys to crash, And then it's a long distance, right? You're traveling together, right? There'll come a point when that driver, has to rest, and then you have to take over and drive that car, right? And by the time you drive that car, you should have already identified, ways in which you can drive more safely so that you can reach your destination. My point is, right now there are people, that are leading this country, right? And our generation is in the back seat. You know, all we can do is watch. So, what's, bad signs, like, have you seen, things that you can improve? I'm not saying, let's criticize, but what is something that, when you, let's say that Hazel is the Minister of Health, like, what would you change?
Right. You see, you asked me the right question. When I'm the Minister of Health, first of all, I think the first thing I would do is renovate all hospitals. Because I've worked in a hospital before and the conditions are bad, the infrastructure is falling apart. I think that's the first thing that's important. The second thing.
Alright, before we go far, I'm a bit challenging, so as you are stating your points, I'm gonna challenge you a little bit.
Yeah, of course.
You say that you renovate the hospitals. Where do you get the money from to renovate the hospital? How will you raise that money? Like, is there a way? Because,
Well, if I was Minister of Health in Zimbabwe, right? Zimbabwe is a rich country. It's just funds that are not, allocated and used properly.
Allegedly.
So allegedly, but the money is there. So it's not an issue of raising funds, it's an issue of taking the initiative to improve the health system in the country.
All right, continue after renovating.
Right, obviously renovate and also start making emergency medicines available everywhere. Because I know that you've seen in the news that's a current issue right now.
Okay.
There's an issue of insufficient medicine, understaffing, all of that. I think that's the first step to improving healthcare.
All right.
Fix the products, fix the infrastructure.
All right. All right.
One step at a time.
One step at a time. Okay, that's fair. I'm going to go back to, brain drain and diaspora, right? Isn't it concerning you how, what's going to happen? Do you have to think what's going to happen, if everyone just leaves?
Well, I don't think everyone would leave. There's always one who will stick behind and really hold it down. But as for us, the youth, we're all leaving. But there's also youth who are still staying. So, I feel like the brain drain is there, but then there's always that balance.
There's this Shona Tsumo that says, "Rumeri might be true." So if it basically means that one guy cannot do everything. He can't do everything. He can't accomplish much by himself. So do you think that the people who are staying can accomplish much by themselves? Because out of 10 people, 9 may leave, and then you'll be left with one. That's just 10%.
They won't. That's why I mentioned earlier that with Africa as a whole, it's only downhill from here because the brightest minds are leaving. For example, how many people with maybe a PhD in aeronautical engineering do you find? How many?
I don't know.
How many specialists? How many ENT surgeons? How many oncologists do you find? So, and most of those, the specialists are leaving, and those are the specialists that are needed to really, boost the country back. So if they're leaving, that's why I say it's only downhill from here, and it's happening all over Africa. Okay, everyone is leaving Africa, not Zimbabwe. Africa.
Okay, I challenge you. You say that we're only going downhill, but that's not a good way. That's not a great.
It's called
because you're gonna live here. You're going to be a foreigner in another, place. Maybe if you want to go away, do you want to permanently leave or you want to leave and come back?
Oh, permanently. Obviously, I'll come back for a week to visit. But yeah, the goal is to get
out.
Out.
Get out.
Yeah. But then it also depends, okay? It also depends because you can maybe really make it, on the other side, then decide, what, let me try something new here. Let me open a business, create jobs for the youth who are still unemployed, give back.
Okay, talking about creating jobs, would you describe yourself as someone who's into entrepreneurship? Like, what's your idea of entrepreneurship?
No, I'm not. I live in a 9 to 5.
Okay. That's good. That's good.
I have no
you know your
entrepreneurial bone in
yeah.
my body. I've tried.
Yeah.
I have tried, but I've just come to accept that I'm a 9 to 5 type of girl.
But you said you've tried.
I have.
Well, what have you tried?
Like, just generally, like what you do in uni, you're trying to launch a business. I feel like it takes a lot of patience and it takes hard work, right? But then it's just not my niche. Everyone's got their own thing. For me, I tried everything. I tried a lash business. I tried selling clothes. I tried makeup. There is literally almost nothing I haven't tried.
Really? All right. So it's about patience and patience.
Not only patience, I feel like when it comes to those things, I do believe that you also have to be gifted. It has to be your gift in a way. You have to be a salesperson.
Okay.
Really, and I'm not that.
Okay.
You have to really be good at convincing people to do what you want.
I see.
I'm not a big manipulator. Because
Alright.
that's what it is. Like, it's all about
selling is manipulated.
Yes.
Alright. When you bought that bottle of water, were you manipulated your body manipulated you into saying buy that?
No, obviously there's obviously there's differences, but like the kind of like entrepreneurship that I wanted to get into, it needed that you have to go source your clients on your own. And like with water, you don't need to source clients for water. Just set up a stand outside. Someone's always going to be thirsty. Water is like a basic need.
It's a basic need.
But makeup is not. Eyelashes is not. Crop tops are not.
Alright.
Yeah.
So you need to find a way to stand out. Because
stand out.
if you're selling a product, that's the
draw them in.
Okay.
Top tier manipulation.
Okay. These days there's a different I think it's part of entrepreneurship. Selling a name, like brand. Have you ever thought about that?
I have.
Uh,
It's not my thing.